Today we would be talking about bone age estimation. I am Dr. Swati Kanodia. I am a consultant, pediatric and adolescent endocrinologist and diabetes specialist. I am visiting consultant at BL Kapoor Super Speciality Hospital and various other hospitals in Delhi and Jaipur. Now, why do we need to do a bone age estimation? Now, as pediatricians, they say that, the radiologist report sometimes does not compare to the actual bone age and how to do the bone age. So bone age is a fundamental tool of assessment for any child with endocrine disorders. It is very important that evaluation of bone age is done and its interpretation is done in terms of clinical conditions and pubertal status. Now, most of the times, every patient who comes to us, to an endocrinologist, requires a bone age. Now, why do they require it? To calculate the predicted height. That is, if a child comes to you with a short stature or precocious puberty, so we need to know that how much height potential is left in the child. Response to therapy, especially when we are giving GnRH analog to a child for precocious puberty. So whether the bone age is stalled or not, whether our treatment is working or not, the bone age would give us a clue to that. When to intervene, especially when we have to give growth hormone therapy to a child, we should know whether how much bone age is there and how much growth potential is left for us to even intervene also. And duration of therapy, again, with growth hormone and GnRH analogs, bone age would give us an idea that how much duration of therapy we need to give, and then we need to stop the treatment. Now, for a pediatrician, it is very important that they should have a broad idea within a margin which is relevant as far as the clinical practice is concerned. Now, these are few of the examples of what we get as a bone age report from the radiologists. As you can see, bone age between 11 to 20 years, bone age between 11 to 16 years, and these are especially, I want to highlight, when we ask for a bone age, this is what they give us, that no bony injury is seen, joint spaces are normal, soft tissue shadows appear normal. Here the bone age is 8 to 14 years. And when you see, this was a child, female child with a chronological age of 9 years, 5 months, with a bone age of 12.3, and this is what they give us. And in this case, this was a boy with a chronological age of 12 years with a bone age of 13 to 13 and a half years. So such broad ranges, they do not give us any clue about what the actual bone age of the child is, and we cannot treat the child based on these. So please do not just rely solely on a radiologist report when you are evaluating a bone age. Now, how to take X-ray for bone age? It is very important that clear instructions are given to the parents and to the radiologist when you want an X-ray for bone age estimation. Full hand is required because it is not only the radius and the ulna which is important for us, but also the small bones of the hand which are more important for us. So that is why full hand X-ray from the distal part of the radius and ulna till the tip of the fingers should be there. Positioning of the hand is very important. That is, it should be widespread. Generally, the X-ray is taken of the non-dominant or the left hand, because the dominant hand is more prone to injuries. And our atlas is also based on left hand X-ray estimations. Exposure is very important for us to clearly evaluate the X-ray. Now, the site is very important. In the lower limb X-ray or the knee X-ray is done only in the newborns, especially in the case of congenital hypothyroidism, to see if there has been any antenatal influence of hypothyroidism in the child or not. So for this, we see is the lower part of the femur and the upper part of the tibia. If their epiphyses have not appeared in these in a newborn child, this is a clear indication that there has been an antenatal influence of hypothyroidism in this child. During the childhood, what we require is the hand X-ray. Some people do the elbow X-ray and to indicate fusion, but this is not relevant for us in the clinical perspective, because once the fusion has happened, we cannot do anything for the child, and we want to catch these children early so that some intervention can be done and they do not have short stature. Now, the methods that we use for bone age estimation are Grulich file. Now, this has been used most commonly, and this is an atlas in which there are different radiographs which are given, And what we do is that we compare the X-ray that we get with the photographs given in this atlas. And the data in this is basically of Caucasian children, and there's a lot of interpersonal variability is there, and it's a cumbersome method. The other method that we use is the Tanner-Whitehouse method, which is considered to be the gold standard. In it's about 20 sites are compared. Here I have mentioned a few of them, as you can see. And then these sites, each of them is given a score. The score is then compared with the one given in the atlas. Total score is taken, and then a bone age is assigned to that score. It is more accurate than Krulik-Pyle, and in this, the previous TW2 had the data basically of Caucasian and the British population, but there is a new TW3 method which includes some Asian Japanese population data also. Now, why TW3 method was devised was because it was seen that the children are maturing more rapidly and reaching their skeletal maturity score earlier than their chronological age, which the TW2 method was not able to give very accurately. That is why TW3 method was devised. But again, it's a cumbersome method. It requires quite a lot of practice and expertise, and one X-ray estimation can take about 20 to 30 minutes. Now, this is a newer automated bone age estimation method called as Bone Expert. In this, you digitally feed the X-ray directly from the machine to the app, and then it will give you a bone age estimation within a few minutes. It gives you both Krulik-Pyle and TW3 method. It also gives SD standard deviation score and also gives an adult height prediction, but it's a very expensive method and it is available only in very few places in India. Now, what we need to look at is that how epiphyses and metaphyses are maturing, what we are looking for in the bone age. So what you need to know is that maturation happens from proximal to distal and fusion happens from distal to proximal. What do you mean by that? I'll tell you, but in a bone age X-ray, what we consider to be most important is radius and the ulna and the carpals. But this is actually the least important part if you want to know how much growth potential is left for the child. And what is more important is the distal interpharyngeal joints, medial interpharyngeal joints, because as I said, maturation happens from proximal to distal, but fusion happens from distal to proximal. So for us to know whether the bones have started fusing, whether the child does have growth potential left, we need to look at the distal joints because they would start fusing earlier. So now in different age groups, different part of the bones is more important for us to estimate what is the bone age of the child. So in infancy, what we look at are the carpal bones and the radius and ulna. During childhood, what is more important is the metacarpal and the interphalangeal joints. And during the puberty, it's the distal interphalangeal joints which are more important. Now, let's try to make it easier for you so that you can make an average estimation as a general pediatrician of what the bone age could be. So what are the specific points we need to look for in different age groups, which would give us a rough estimate of what the bone age is? What you need to know is that the girls mature earlier than the boys in the bone age also because of the higher estrogen levels, even in the pre-puberty age group. So that is why the changes that are seen in boys in 0 to 14 months would be seen in girls in 0 to 10 months. And that is why everything happens earlier in girls. So in infancy, what we need to look for is the presence of the carpal bones, that is the capitate and the hamate, and the epiphyses of the radius. In the toddler age group, it's the number of the epiphyses which we need to look at. During the mid pre-puberty and the early puberty, it's the comparison of the size of the epiphyses with the metaphyses. And during the late puberty, what we look at is the fusion of the bones. So let's see separately. Now in infants, that is 0 to 14 months and girls 0 to 10 months, what we see is for the appearance of the capitate and the hamate and the distal epiphyses of the radius. By 1 year of age, the capitate and hamate should have appeared and the distal epiphyses of radius would have appeared. Now in the toddlers, it's the smaller bones that is in the phalangeal and the metacarpal joints. The proximal appear more than the metacarpal. And by 3 years of age, all small bones should have appeared. And the pre-pubertal age group, now what we are looking for is the metaphyseal size as compared to the epiphysis. Now, as you can see here, this is the epiphysis as compared to the metaphysis. So in the 4, 6, and 8 years of age group, as you can see, the epiphysis size slowly increases as compared to the metaphysis. And by 8 years of age, it is slightly smaller than the metaphysis, and definitely the girls would have a larger epiphysis as compared to the boys. And this is the age group that the people start coming to us, but this is the age group most commonly that endocrine problems do pop up, and the parents start thinking about the height of their children. Now, again, in this age group, what we see is that the epiphysis becoming equivalent to metaphysis, along with starting of the capping of the epiphysis with capping of the metaphysis with the epiphysis. So this is about 10 years of age, 12 and 14 years of age. And in the late puberty, what we are basically looking at is the fusion of the joints. And in the girls, by about 16 years of age, 14 years of age actually, and in the boys about 16 years of age, about 99% of the bone age has been achieved. That is almost their final height is there. And at this age group, if the child presents to us, mostly we cannot do anything about the height because the bones would have almost fused. Adult height prediction, we have different models of adult height prediction. There is the Bailey-Pinnow method, which we use most commonly, but it is not suitable for children with short stature or those who have very advanced or very delayed bone age. We cannot make an accurate prediction. Now let's take a few cases. Now this is the X-ray of a child. A 15-year-old girl, she came to us with short stature and she was having regular periods. So we told them that most probably height is done, as you know, the bones would have fused because she's having regular periods. But this child, as you can see, this is her X-ray. What you can see, this is the epiphysis and the metaphysis. As you can see, the epiphysis is smaller than the metaphysis. So this is actually a bone age of about 7 to 8 years, and this girl was severely hypothyroid and had von Willebrand syndrome, in which, because of the extremely high TSH levels, she had started with her puberty, with her periods, but because of severe hypothyroidism, the bone age was delayed. So her bone age was actually of a 7.5 year of age. And once we started the child on treatment with thyroid medication, we also gave her growth hormone along with it, and she has been progressing quite well. So that is why even if the child comes to you in a later age group when you think the bones must have fused, please do get a bone age done. You never know what you might find. Another case, this is a 4-year, 11-month-old child who came to us with pubic hair and darkening of the upper lip area. Now, in this X-ray, what do you see? Can you see the epiphysis and the metaphysis? As you can see, the epiphysis is larger than the metaphysis almost, so or almost equivalent to it. Now, this is a bone age of about a 10 to 11-year-old, and this child's bone age was 10.5 by Tanner-Whitehouse method. This is a case of central precocious puberty, and we had to start this, the testicular volume was about 12 to 15 ml, and we had to start this child on GnRH analogs, and we have been able to stall the bone age in this child. Now, another case, this is a child who came to us, 15-year-old male with short stature. He wanted to increase his height, but as you can see, the distal interpharyngeal joints and the middle and the intermediate and proximal, they have all fused. Only slight spaces left in radius and ulna. So we do not have any or much growth potential left in this child. So it would be not of any relevance or not of any advantage to start this child on growth hormone. So I would not recommend treatment in this child because it's too late for us now. Another case, again, a 16-year-old child came to us with short stature. We told that probably now not much growth potential might be left. But again, when we did X-ray of this child, as you can see, the epiphysis and the metaphysis, the epiphysis is smaller than the metaphysis. And the bone age would be around 10, 11 to 12 years of age group in this child. And this was a child with celiac disease, growth hormone deficiency, and partial diabetes insipidus. And once we treated the child for these conditions, the child has been responding beautifully. So my take-home messages are that bone age estimation is required in every child with endocrine problem. Clear instructions need to be given for taking the X-ray. Do not rely on radiologist report alone. You can use any method, Gulick-Pyle, Tanner-Whitehouse method, or just a rough estimation of bone age as I have showed you. Growth is a time-sensitive factor. Earlier the treatment is done, the better the result, and timely referral is very, very important. Thank you.